ladies and gentlemen, to another fantastic filled episode full of futuristic wonder and potential fright. Who knows?
Lots of F's.
Lots of F's. Well, there's a lot of effery going on in this topic. A lot of fuckery, you know?
Fuckery.
A lot of fuckery. Ooh, that one hit me late. Damn it. All right. I'm here.
We're here.
Oh, I hope you are here with us in the same dimension that we are in.
Right.
It's a good one. If you're keeping track, this is not the first episode in the series.
No.
For those of you that knows what that means, you know. It's one of those if you know, you know.
If you know. You know.
If you know, you know.
Yes.
So, I'm excited about this episode. I'm excited about this one. I'm excited because this one kind of is like it's like a double win for me. As soon as I get over that cough.
A double win.
A double win. Because
win-win situation.
It's a win-win. It's a win-win-win-win.
Oh, my.
I like stories that have a lot of guts to them.
Okay.
You know, a lot of, because you know I like eyes, I like credibility, I like all that stuff. Mm-hmm. And generally speaking, those stories tend to be popular. Mm-hmm. Right? So when I find one, when I get my hands on one that has just so much, but most people never fucking heard of it ever.
Really?
I love it. I love it. It's kind of my favorite kind. And today is no exception. I'm very excited to get through today's. All right, are you ready for today's?
I'm ready.
You ready to dive into this?
Yes, I'm excited.
We're going to go back.
We're going back again?
We're going back. Well, all these stories go back.
They go back. That's true.
We're not going to go in the future. What am I going to do?
Well, that might be fun sometime.
What am I going to do? Be like, we're going to go into the future. The year is 2130. No. That doesn't make any fucking sense. So, but we're going to go back a little ways. All right? Here we go. Are you okay?
I'm fine.
It was not that funny.
I know.
We're going to go back. I'm going to tell you a story. On the evening of April 24th, 1964, in a small town of Socorro, New Mexico, I'm going to introduce you to a nice gent, a police officer by the name of Lonnie Zamora.
Lonnie Zamora.
Old Lonnie was on a routine patrol that night on April 24th. Around 5:45 p.m., he was in pursuit of a speeding car when he heard a loud roar.
A roar?
You know, a loud noise.
Okay.
And saw a flame in the sky, roughly half a mile to the southwest. He thought it might be like local dynamite shack exploding.
It happens.
So he broke off the chase to investigate, hoping no one was hurt. So everything, at this point, everything above the board. You know?
Okay.
You know, he's chasing a guy down.
He sees an explosion. He's like, oh, that's probably more important than this guy I'm chasing for speeding.
Yeah, and I mean, this sounds like a small town, so he probably knows. He's like, oh, I'll go talk to, fucking old Jim's nephew later,
About that dynamite.
About that. Well, and then the dynamite went off. That's the thing.
Mm-hmm.
So he's like, oh, fuck, there's an explosion. Should probably go check out that explosion.
Explosion.
Or was it an explosion? So as he drove towards the source of the noise, the rough terrain forced him actually to leave his car and proceed on foot, because there wasn't roads to where the explosion happened. Apparently climbing a hill, he was met with an astonishing sight. About 150 to 200 yards away, he saw a shiny egg-shaped object, roughly the size of a medium car. It was perched on the ground on 4 leg-like structures.
Legs?
Yeah, had like little,
Little landers.
Little landers.
Bloop.
Now, beside it stood 2 figures, both seemingly in white coveralls.
Coveralls?
Well, that's how he described it back in the 60s.
Okay.
They appeared smaller than average human and seemed to be inspecting the aircraft.
Like, what the fuck happened?
Like, what's going on here? And they were small. We've heard about small, before, and we've also heard about silver. Because, I mean, I think back, that could be, the Lazar sport mod could be kind of construed as an egg shape, if you didn't know, in the 60s.
Yeah.
You know, kind of like if he was trying to describe how it looked. And let's not forget that had the little tiny chairs, and Lazar said that they were only about 4 feet tall. So I'm just pointing out coincidences here. Okay. Now, Zamora was startled, initially thinking that they might be actually children who were in danger from nearby flame and the roar, the sound, and everything.
Those kids with their flying egg.
Well, he didn't know.
They're going to get in trouble.
Well, he didn't know what was going on, but he thought that they were just in the area. So he tried to get closer, but in his haste, he scared them off. As he approached, apparently he slipped and lost sight of the figures, and when he looked again, they were gone.
But was the ship still there?
Ship was there.
Okay, so they just physically ran off. Okay.
Yeah, he noticed a red insignia on the side of the craft, which he later described as an inverted V with 3 horizontal lines through it. Do you know what that instantly made me think of?
It made me think of, what was it, the 1970s miniseries, or was it in the 80s, V, with the aliens?
Yeah, but it's inverted.
Okay.
Right.
Yes.
So it's like a little pyramid, right, with some lines. You know what that made me think of? Stargate.
Oh.
Because that was the chevron for Earth, was the inverted V with the lines.
I forgot about that.
I didn't. Stargate has so much truth in it, and I have a poster on my wall to remind me of all the truth in it. It's probably the second most truthful series out there. Before, of course, the OG, the legend of truth, Flight of the Navigator.
Flight of the Navigator, yes.
Who can forget? Who can forget?
All roads lead back to Flight of the Navigator.
All of them. Every road leads back to goddamn Flight of the Navigator.
That ship looked like an egg.
Do you know what I didn't know? And you probably knew this. Actually, I bet you did know this, because didn't you do a whole fucking other podcast with your other group about Flight of the Navigator?
Yeah, I did a podcast on it.
I didn't realize the director was also the director of Grease.
Was he?
Yeah.
I might have known that. I don't know.
And then he hid Grease shit in Flight of the Navigator.
I don't know anything about that.
Yeah. So like in the very beginning of the movie, when like they're driving and the two brothers are like kind of fighting, and then the one brother jumps out to go play with the neighbor kids, they're listening to "You're the One That I Want."
Oh, yeah, I remember the music.
And then there's another point, I forgot what it was, but there's another connection, but he hid some Grease shit in there. But I didn't know that either. But that movie is just littered with truth. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
Just saying.
It's a very interesting movie.
Yeah.
Very interesting.
Littered. Littered with truth. But I digress.
Yes. Egg in a field.
Now, before he could process the scene any further, the craft began to emit another roar. A sound. The previously seen flame reappeared beneath the object, charring like the vegetation and the grass and shit below. The craft then lifted off the ground, hovered for a moment, and then swiftly and silently flew away, disappearing into the distance. Now, hold on.
So they left their dudes behind?
No, the dudes got in.
Oh, gotcha.
That's the thing. Like, he slipped, he looked away, came back, they must have jumped back in, and then took off. But here's my problem. There's a fire? Since when do they have fire? I thought this shit was gravity. Now, this dude is saying there's a fucking fire that burnt the ground.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Uh-huh. That's a problem for me. Normally, you don't hear about, there's no plume, like there's no fire. They all say there's no fire. There's no discernible means of propulsion.
Yeah.
But this dude's like, no, they got a flame. So I should just keep going, and then we should come back to this.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's interesting. We haven't heard that before.
Nope.
From anything.
No, that's what I'm saying. So, shaken by what he had witnessed, Zamora radioed his dispatcher and fellow officer Sergeant Sam Chavez. Sam Chavez, who quickly arrived at the scene. Together, they observed the landing site, noting 4 deep symmetrical marks where the craft had apparently rested, as well as the scorched bushes and plants. The site soon then attracted attention from other local police, the military, even the FBI. The physical evidence, combined with Zamora's impeccable reputation, made it clear that something extraordinary actually had occurred that evening in that small town. So kind of crazy, right? Kind of crazy. Yeah, I mean, the thing is he wasn't a UFO guy.
No, he's just
a cop.
going to check out an explosion that he saw.
Yep. They say that he was known for his honesty and his reliability. He was visibly shaken. It was noted. He described the insignia on the craft. He actually later, they sketched it out. And I can include a picture of that in the show notes. So, like, word of the incident spread rapidly, right? By the next day, like I said, various agencies, including the Army and the FBI, came onto the town. Like, that's how credible they must have taken this. They sent the Army and the FBI? Because the guy said he saw a UFO? This is back in the 60s when we allegedly didn't give a fuck anymore. You know what I mean? To a point.
Mm-hmm.
So...
Well, and also he described some things that aren't in any other encounter that we've talked about so far.
So it gets kind of interesting, right? Because the physical evidence at the landing site was thoroughly examined, and Zamora was interviewed multiple times. He consistently recounted the events, and his genuine reaction convinced many that he was telling the truth, or he believed he was telling the truth, which could be different.
That's true. Now,
here's the interesting thing. Here's the interesting thing. The Air Force the fucking Air Force.
God.
They hide all the secrets. The Navy wants the secrets. The Air Force hides the secrets. While the Air Force publicly downplayed the incident, right? Internally, there was significant interest. Certainly, like there was so much, right?
Mm-hmm.
So after the incident captured public media, the United States Air Force Project Blue Book swung into action. You remember Project Blue Book?
I do. I remember Project Blue Book.
Our boys from Project Blue Book were going on. Now, here's the thing. Here's my problem with Project Blue Book. And we all know, if you go back and listen to our episode, Project Blue Book, essentially, for the most part, was designed not to investigate.
For disinformation.
It was designed to discredit. Yeah. They were made to discredit. Like, find out why it's not this. So, upon receiving information about the incident, Project Blue Book dispatched a team of investigators to examine the case in detail. This was actually led by Captain Richard T. Holder. We remember him. He worked with J. Allen Hynek. The team arrived at the landing site, which they meticulously examined the physical evidence. They interviewed witnesses, the whole fucking 9 yards.
Mm-hmm.
Now, of course, one of the key figures involved was J. Allen Hynek. We know him, the astronomer and scientific consultant for Project Blue Book. Hynek played a significant role in analyzing and evaluating UFO reports, providing, he was a doctor. He was a teacher, a professor. He taught at various prestigious schools. And later, after Project Blue Book was shut down, he went on to keep investigating UFOs, and he was convinced that they were real. They brought him into Project Blue Book to help discredit it, and what he saw, he was like, I think this shit's real. And he went on later to be like, no, I went into this a skeptic, and I'm coming out of this a believer. So, in the case of the Lonnie Zamora incident, Hynek reviewed the evidence, conducted interviews with witnesses, including Zamora himself. So he went on and really dug into it. The team, with Hynek's guidance, carefully measured and documented the 4 impressions left by the UFO at the landing site.
Mm-hmm.
Soil and vegetation samples were collected and sent to a laboratory for testing to determine if any unusual substances were present. They did a bunch of, like, they did weeks of thorough investigation. Weeks, right? And so at the end of it, one would assume, now knowing what we know about Project Blue Book, is they'd have some reason for it, right? But when
is it going to be swamp gas?
But when the evidence is so unbelievable, sometimes you can't make up a bullshit story. So after weeks of thorough investigation, Project Blue Book concluded their analysis of the Lonnie Zamora UFO incident. They classified the case as unknown.
Unknown. They didn't say one way or another. Like
they said that it was a true, unidentified event, and they can't. They said it potentially could be credible.
Why do you think this story doesn't get that much attention?
I don't know. I think
because I've never heard anything.
Yeah.
To do with this.
Yeah.
Story. I don't. At least not that I remember.
Lonnie Zamora. Yep. And nothing. I mean, after this, nothing ever happened with him. You know what I mean? Like, he never had any more crazy stories. He lived a very normal life. And everybody, it's another one of those cases where it's like, hey, I don't know if I believe in this stuff, but if I believe that he saw something.
Oh yeah, he definitely saw something. It's just what the fuck was it?
He is credible, I mean, your initial go-to is like, well, he saw a drone, right? Well, no, this is 1964.
Yeah.
1964.
And he saw two small. Did he say they were gray?
Yeah.
In white overalls?
They were in white overalls. He thought they were children. Yeah. So, I mean, and there was a bunch of physical evidence, right? Like, you had the landing imprints. You had 4 symmetrical deep depressions in the ground. Now, and the impressions were consistent with having the weight and pressure of heavy objects having been there, right? You had burned vegetation. The bushes and stuff were all scorched and charred, indicating exposure to high heat and flames. It was consistent with what he said, with how the flames would be shooting downwards from an object that took off. They determined it makes sense. Footprints. Near the landing site, there were footprints that matched the description of the 2 figures that Zamora had claimed to seen.
So they were like human footprints?
They just saw like I guess. These footprints were distinct and separate from Zamora's and offered in Officer Chavez's footprints. Yeah. They saw some sort of footprints. The sandy soil around the landing area showed signs of disturbance, as if something had landed and taken off from that spot. Yeah.
I don't know. It's like this. There's so many odd things about this story that you can't compare it to any other story. So it's hard to pick apart.
Yep. Yeah, it's kind of crazy. It's kind of fucking crazy. I mean, and when it comes down to it, it's crazy that more people don't know about it, like you said, because the Lonnie Zamora incident, it's considered one of the most credible and well-documented UFO sightings in history. The physical evidence combined with Zamora's reputation makes the case really hard to dismiss. Now, over the years, many theories have been proposed, from experimental aircraft to elaborate hoaxes, but really nothing has satisfied all of the aspects of the incident.
Yeah, because I mean, oval shaped, we've heard that before, but like the 4 leg-like structures coming out. I mean, we haven't heard a lot of stories about actual landings. We've had a lot of sightings. There's only been like 1 or 2 actual landings.
Yeah, we've heard a couple, right? So the ones that pop in my mind instantly are the school children incidences.
Yes, and then the couple.
And then, yep. So you had you had
Betty and
Betty and Barney Hill.
Yes.
And then, but there was also the Rendlesham Forest incident that landed as well.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Because they touched it.
Landed.
They fucking touched the ship, remember? And then he saw all the symbols and the binary code in his head.
That's right. I forgot about that.
So there's been some landings, And then of course, old Bob Lazar, fucking, he was in it. So, I mean, he got into the bowels of it. He got deep into it.
Into the Forbidden Dome.
He got down in there and he was fucking fingering into the Forbidden Dome. Well, that's what happened when that's how he got the gig, right? Like they tried to cut open the Forbidden Dome and the fucking dude died. And that's how old Bob got the job.
Oh my God.
Bob got the job.
Bob got the job.
Bob got the job. Yeah. So.
But no, this is an interesting story.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's not a ton on this story, but it is really interesting, and I do hope that you look at the show notes because like I said, I'll link to the picture of the drawing that he said that he saw, this insignia, right? Because it goddamn looks like Stargate. Do
you have a picture of it?
I can pull it up. Yeah. Actually, I have it saved right here in the old notes.
It's been a while since Oh.
Yeah, definitely has a Stargate vibe to it.
It does. Mm-hmm.
Yep. So that's what he said he saw.
Wow.
Yep.
Very interesting.
Yep, and like an artist rendition of what he. But
I thought that was like a big eyeball for a second.
Yeah, he saw what he did, guys, is he didn't see a UFO. He saw the future, and in the future, he saw the Vegas sphere.
Yes.
He saw
a big eyeball in the desert.
That thing is confusing. The Madison Square Garden Las Vegas sphere.
Yeah.
That's what that is. The MSG Las Vegas sphere. It is the MSG.
Yeah.
LVS. MSG LVS. Oh, I got to get that down. That's fun to say. Oh, have you guys seen the MSG LVS? Oh, there it is. That's like when New Kids on the Block and Backstreet Boys went on a tour together. That was the best ever.
Oh, yeah, the NKOTB.
Yeah, so you could be like, oh my God, did you hear that BSB and NKOTB are going out together? Oh my God. BSB and NKOTB. Say that fast.
Oof.
I love it. And now you got the MSG LVS.
MSG LVS.
I love it. Well, so there it is. Another story that you've probably never heard of. I really like this one because there's a lot of fucking evidence, and there's a lot of apparently undeniable or unrefutable evidence that it kind of was like, because like, how would you even do that? Like, think about let's say it's a hoax, okay? Let's say it's a hoax.
Okay.
And so let's say he faked it. Let's say Lonnie Zamora, stand-up cop who has no blemishes in his fucking life, decided one day, I'm going to fucking cause a hoax. It could happen.
It could happen. Maybe, he's just having a hard time and just wanted to stoke up some attention or
now I know what you're thinking.
Make things exciting.
I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, Jake, wait, why you gotta say it's Lonnie? Why couldn't it be someone else playing a trick on Lonnie? Because Lonnie saw two fucking aliens. Lonnie saw the craft. He's the one that saw in detail the craft. He saw it take off. It had to have been Lonnie lying. Because in 1964, you're not going to fake all that shit that believably like that. So it's got to be Lonnie if it's bullshit. So, and if not, whatever, let's move on. So, but how would you do that? Like, because I mean, you're talking our best scientists, right? Blue Book, Hynek was a scientist, and they did an extensive research on there or investigation that they figured out that the burn marks are consistent of a craft taking off the size that he said it was. Mm-hmm. Like, how would you fake that? Like, you'd have to get like blow torches and a fucking hot air balloon.
Yeah.
I mean, you know what I mean? Like in 1960?
Yeah, I don't know.
I'm like, what are you going to do? You're going to Leave It to Beaver out there fucking, oh, gee, Wally, how are we going to burn this out? Oh, I don't know, Beav. Like...
And I don't know. He could be completely full of shit, but
and it's one thing to be completely full of shit, but how do you fake out that evidence? That's the thing. When you got Blue Book coming in, and here's the thing. This is the thing that gets me. Blue Book is looking for bullshit because they want it to be bullshit. They are trying to be like it's bullshit, right? That's their point. Their point is disinformation or not disinformation. Their point is to disprove all of it, right? So they come in, and if they could be like, if they, you know, they are the smartest people. They are looking for a way to be like, he faked it. That's what they're doing.
Yeah.
And they couldn't find one. I mean, and they made up shit. They found incidences where they couldn't prove it, and they just made up swamp gas.
Fucking swamp gas.
Seriously.
But they classified this one as unknown.
They classified this one as unknown. Even they couldn't make up something believable enough to spin this. So, it's a pretty good one. It's a pretty good one.
Has this guy ever like come out and talked about it?
Yeah, so it had a pretty
outside of just the initial report.
The event had a profound impact on Zamora's life. He never really sought publicity, and he kind of did like shield away from the UFO spotlight. He never once recanted the story. So like he's, you know, over the years, he's never went and like, you know,
went back on anything.
Never went back, but he also never went out there and like did conventions and stuff, which, you know me, that's a win in my book.
Yeah.
If you're not out there making money on your story, you told your story, you stand by it, and you're like, well, listen, I don't want to be a part of this.
Cash in.
Nope. Then that's a big fucking green check mark. So I mean, old Lonnie Zamora, you win this round. But yeah, so there it is. There's your. Not too many people telling this story, I guess, these days.
No, I'd never. Yeah,
But you know,
nothing.
It's a good one.
It's very interesting. Lots of new stuff to ponder.
Lots of new stuff. Well, this has been UFO Snap for this week. Thank you very much for tuning in, and we hope you tell your friends and everybody else, and spread the word. The UFOs are coming for us. I'm Jake.
I'm Lindsay.
Ah!